Hey guys, how's it going? How's it going? Good to see everybody. Hypertension. How's it going? It's good to see everybody. Just still working on the guidelines for 2023. How's everybody doing? Hey Annie, how's it going? Y'all were so missed. We went fishing last week. We didn't catch anything, but we saw plenty of fish. They were practically jumping around. My mom says that we just had the wrong tackle, like the wrong bait and stuff, but I don't know what the difference is. But we had spinner baits. We had, I don't know, tons of different little baits and things, but we didn't have worms and we didn't have crickets. And there was a lot of crappie in the lake or something, smallmouth bass and stuff like that. But anyway, we didn't have any live bait, but we saw plenty of fish. It was fun to go. We're going to do underlying is first. And then second code is going to be the secondary diagnosis code. But we had tons of fun. Boys are back in school today. Of course, one of the neighbors came over today, all frantic, upset. Her grandchild didn't come home off the school bus with the boys this afternoon. At 4:17, the boys get off the bus at 4:15 or so. She was over here at 4:17 wanting to know where the granddaughter was, and we're like, we don't know. Travis said she rode the bus this morning, but then she got on a different bus this afternoon to go spend the night with one of her friends. But you're not supposed to be allowed to do that when you're 12 years old without a parent or guardian's note. But apparently she did and managed it. And Grandma couldn't get a hold of the school because they had already closed the office by that time. And oh my gosh, so we already had some excitement today. So that was crazy. I'm sure her grandma and grandpa are going to ream her when they find her. They're 12, they're already grown and don't need to check in with anybody. I know y'all are dying for more coding stuff. Let's see. I went all guns last week and finished module 1 on practice code and did the assessment. Girl, that's a lot. I have not even looked at that stuff. I'm so proud of you. How did you do? Hey, Carmel, how's it going? It's good to see 44 of you guys in here today. Just working on the 2023 guidelines for ICD 10. I've, of course, got the 2021 over here and my 19 going on here. Got all my books out, copying some notes that I did have, all 3 years, 4 years, whatever. And updating it to the new stuff. There is some new updates, but it's usually in the bold print, not in the headers. But when this stuff is bold, there might be some new updated sentences or something. Nothing in this section coming up. I'm on pain right now. Not even halfway through. Hey guys, sorry, I think this phone, because I haven't been on in a week and TikTok's been doing tons of updates. And then when it updated the TikTok app, my phone clicked me out of it or something. I don't know, to restart TikTok. But anyway, where I was going was, thanks Twinkle, like when the print is bolder, like this one is for the hemorrhage following an elective AB, that's all darker font, so I know this is a new guideline right there. Where's my red? Because we have some do nots there, but I know this is a new guideline. Last year they didn't have very few tiny updates. It was about the social determination, but we've had quite a few little sentences added here or there that do update. A few little extended guidelines, so there's quite a bit more than there was last year. There's another code should not be assigned. And then another one, do not assign code that. Ooh, all this is just mostly do nots. So interesting. I'll have to read those a little bit better as I go through these to make sure. But there's a couple of more updates than there was last year. Mostly extension stuff, like they define one more thing in pain, or one more thing in elective ABs, or one more thing in something, instead of having new guidelines for something new like they did last year. But I still got to get all these pens put away so I can make room for our practice questions for tonight. I'm liking the new pens. They don't seem to be going through the cheaper paper that they had to use. A little bit of my yellow highlight seems to go through, just a little bit, but the pen marks aren't. So that's the most important thing. The Sharpies were just going through it too bad because they had to use a cheaper paper. They're having a paper shortage or something. So I had to get a different brand of pens that would not leak through. The key point is to get some that are fast drying, that really do go through here and dry up super fast as you're writing, so that they're not seeping through. But these are working just fine. I got these from Walmart. I think my voice has forgotten how to talk, plus being in different altitudes. I definitely have not been talking as much while I was off fishing. You have to be super quiet and not scare the fish. It got a little cold up there in Big Bear. The highs were in the 60s, lows were in the 30s. A lot colder than what we're used to here in the desert. Like right now, it's 90 degrees outside at 6:30 at night. So that's pretty cool for us. Finally getting to see a little bit of the fall come in, but we don't really have a season or any leaves that change colors or anything like most people do. All right, got all that out of the way so we can do some practice questions. Anybody have questions or any info on Anybody taking the exam lately? I had 2 more pass today that let me know. I've got to go post those here on our message board. Got a couple of them. Let's see. We had this one and that one. 2 more today to add to our list of who we've helped. Let's see, who have we helped right here? And we got that one. Yep. She said she took a course and she also played my lives in the background. She paid attention when I said stuff about parenthetical notes and do not code a certain code with this code, and that helped her pass. Also, looking at the answers first really helped her pass. So that was cool. Little notes for what was helpful. Yep. That's cool. And who is this? Did I put Jessica up there? I can't remember. If I put Jessica up there too, let's just, she says she's super thankful. She attempted the test multiple times and kept coming up short and finally passed when I helped her. That's great. Perfect. Awesome. Yay. Let's see. Practicode isn't giving me my scores. I called, but they said it could take a few days. Okay, that's neat, interesting. That's crazy. You don't get an instant score. Okay, I was wondering how hard it would be with the difference with the AHIMA ICD-10. Some of the AAPC stuff, if you're going to take your AAPC, CPC, or any kind of AAPC, some of their guideline questions are going to come from their own charts that they made. You see where this chart says AAPC copyright? Well, they're scattered out throughout the guidelines. And the guidelines are not copyrighted. They're able to print these off the internet from CMS and whoever. But when they build an AAPC ICD-10 book, they'll put decision trees in the middle of some of the guidelines to help explain, and they might use these decision trees as a question on your exam. So you are at a disadvantage if you don't get the AAPC version. But as I find practice questions, or if I figure out anything that comes from the AAPC CPC exam that might come from a decision tree, I'll let y'all know, and you can write in that info on your own. But they do this throughout the guidelines. Nearly every page will have their own copyrighted decision tree on it, and you'll miss out on having those if you don't have the AAPC version of the ICD-10 book, and your hit picks too, by the way. But it's not a lot of questions, 1 or 2, depending on which version of the exam you get. Sharpies bled through on your 2022 book. They did somewhat on mine, but I learned how to kind of paint with them and not write with them, if that makes any sense, and glide over them really gently with a really light hand. And I also thinned out the ink with the alcohol too. Dipping them in this beforehand really helped. But with these, I don't have to do that at all. I haven't had to thin them out. So this is another version that I picked up from Dollar General that seemed to be just as good as these quick drying lip pens that I found. But these Bic Intensity Fine seem to be just the same quality. And I haven't had to thin those out at all. And they're not bleeding through either. So it's just these don't come in very many colors. Like I found a 4-pack or something with just like some baby blues and stuff. So far, this was at the Dollar General, but these seem to be working just fine. But yeah, I've had to abandon my Sharpie Ultra Fines because they're just too wet. They just need to dry a little bit faster. I think the alcohol would help them. Oh, here's 2 more of the Bic Intensity things. They're super skinny, thin little things. And it come with, oh, it's a 5-pack because it come with the black. So those seem to be working okay too. It's just my highlighters seem to be, if they're too wet, they'll bleed through too. So kind of open them up and leave the cap off for an hour and then use them. That's what I've been doing. It's just leaving the caps off for a little while before I start using them. Thank you for sharing the live and tapping the screen. That helps out. Let everybody know we're on. I'm sorry, it's freezing. I was counting down the days until you were back, but I hope you enjoyed yourself. Thanks, Steph. That's awesome. You're scheduled for November 19th. Carmel, I hope you do so well, and I hope something I say during these lives helps out a ton. Finally, TikTok is working. Yay. Hey, Chaos. Good to see you. Hey, Cher. Your exam is scheduled for February. Exciting. They changed my exam rule again. They changed the exam rule again. What did they change? I think I saw somebody. Did somebody say that they were allowed to bring a medical dictionary again? And I saw somebody online. Now, I haven't been to the AAPC website to check this out, but somebody said that we can't have a dry erase board anymore with us for the online exam. But I don't know if that's true or not. I called a medical coding school today and the cost was $20,000. Is that a normal cost? Oh my God, Liz, Beth, do not go to school for this. All you need is a study guide and some practice exam questions, and you can self-study. I mean, unless you have $20,000 to blow or can get a grant for it, it's not going to help you. There's nothing more than you can't find on YouTube. I'm working on a partner page right now too, to have on my website. So if anybody has any other educators that are out there that do a really good job of like talking over anatomy or coding even, or anything that has helped you out too, let me know who they are and I'll post them on this page so that I can, I'm not the perfect fit for everybody, but I want to be able to have a page where people can go and look for everybody that's good in the field that has done something beneficial for somebody, anybody, and, that might be helpful. So, I've got that, HUNG person on there was the first one that I thought of because I know a ton of you guys talk about that one. And of course I'll put CCO, and we'll do the coding guild for the more advanced coders out there that are past the CPC but need to know more stuff for billing. The coding guild is a really nice lady. I've talked to her a couple of times. And collaborated on a few things with her, and she's more advanced in her education, but still, some people surpass my teaching. So, I want to build a page where y'all can find good information. So if y'all know anybody, let me know. It says 30 minutes. What does, Annie? Oh, I found the big intensity works great for me on the 2022 book. That's awesome. That's good. I will be taking the CCS test. Awesome, KKS, Mom. Don't forget, in my study group on Discord, which is completely free, and I don't make any money on this. This is just completely free for you guys. I do have a study room for you CCS people with in CCA that has practice exam questions in there that I even put in there for you guys to study with. Anything that I can find that is helpful, that is openly shared over the internet, that isn't like paid by somebody. I don't have to pay to get the information, but if it's openly shared, I'll share the info here in our study group for you guys so that y'all have somewhere to practice test questions and stuff too. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Got some practice questions in there with some explanations. So hopefully that helps. It's completely free. TikToker, heck no, don't pay. Don't pay to work with Jen. Yeah, you don't have to. Totally free. I like to teach for free. I thought it was too much. Yep. It is 19,576. Oh my gosh. No way. I went through a community college and it was so cheap. Yep. I'm wanting to take a CPC in January. Can I still use my 2022 books? I'm not certain. I don't have anything but the ICD-10 book for 2023. The AAPC CPC exam is said to change as of January 1st to 2023. Previous years, since I've been watching this exam since 2018 and 19, it seems like the exam doesn't change to new codes until April or May of each year, new year, but they claim it does. They claim it absolutely changes on January 1st. And until you are the first one to take the exam and we hear back from you to say whether you had 2023 codes or 2022 codes in it, I won't be able to tell you. I have no idea. I don't work for AAPC. I'm just a guest educator for them. And I don't work for their exam department. And I can't tell you, but they claim it does change. And we do have over 2,000 new codes in CPT and just as many in ICD-10. So you could be at a real big disadvantage. When I took my exam, I used 2018 books in 2019 year, and it didn't affect me, even though they told me it would. They said I could miss like 30 questions because they had that many new codes or something. But this year is a big change. We had a lot of new codes. Last year, from 2021 to 2022, we only had 200 new codes in each book, which was not a big deal. And I had many students or mentees pass with the 2021 books marked up for their 2022 year exam, and they passed right away. I can't foresee the future, and I don't know what's going to happen, but we've got a lot of new codes, way more than usual. So it makes me leery to give you any advice on that. New books are starting to come out. We've already got our ICD-10 book out. And like I was saying at the very beginning, we do have more, appears to be. I'm only 15 pages into the guidelines of 36 pages. And we appear to have more updates than we have in previous years, too, to some of the guidelines. They're minor things, but they are updates to existing guidelines, and AAPC has actually put in way more decision trees too in their version of the book too than they have had in previous versions. So it's interesting. My college course was $9K, $20K, and way too much. I think those $2,000 12-week courses are way too much anyway. I mean, you're way out in the ballpark of $20K. Now, does that include a master's degree or even a bachelor's degree? If it includes a bachelor's degree, that's still $2,000 a semester. That's a lot. That's more than $2,000 a semester for 4-year college. Now, but if you're going to get your bachelor's degree with it and go into hospital coding, where you would be a biller for a hospital with your bachelor's degree, the investment of $20K, I mean, maybe would be worth it, but you'd have to be an administrator of the hospital and work in coding and billing and be really wanting that in-person, some of the time, go-getter meeting person who would be in these meetings with physicians and running a coding department and be in blazers and suits and be there at least 3 days a week scaring people. And you could work remotely or travel for the company or the hospital network and stuff like that. Now, if you really wanted to make $100K a year, but there is cheaper ways to get your bachelor's degree. And what I would do is just go sit for your CPC and earn that, work remotely from home. Then while you're working remotely from home, coding for whoever, take one course a semester from your local community college and get a bachelor's degree that way, and pay for it in cash, or have the current company that you're working for reimburse you for the college credit hours that you're extending on your, that way you're not out $20K. You could do it. It's a lot slower process, but it's cheaper, a lot cheaper, and practically free that way. Hey, Cashmere, good to see you. Hey, Chaos. Yeah, you have to use the 2023 books starting January 1st. You have to, or is it recommended? It's both. It's only recommended. It's not a requirement that you have to use the 2023 books. You do have to use the 2022 books or 2023 in the 2023 testing year. You cannot use a 2021 book as of January 1st, 2023, but you can use a 2022, but it's not advised. There you go. Whiteboard, no whiteboard allowed now. That's what I thought. I saw something or read something somewhere. That's crazy. How do I go about highlighting my book, like knowing what to highlight? Depends on which book you're talking about. In the ICD-10, you really don't need to highlight a lot as far as the codes go. But in your CPT book, you do. Where is my CPT book? Lord, I got stuff scattered to the wind. So I have this page on my website too while I'm at it. Let me show you guys. So I have a website called medicalcodingbyjen.com. And this is what the page looks like. If you go there and go to the drop-down menu and under members, once you sign up to be a member, it's free. Go to CPT Book Prep. Let me sign in real quick. Once I sign in, I'll be able to see it. There we go. You'll be able to go to the book pages, this page, and it will tell you what to highlight, what what I'm highlighting, why I'm highlighting it, just click on the picture and then it'll give you the instructions, and then you can go on to the next picture. And it'll tell you what I'm doing and why I'm highlighting it. But to show you real quick, one of the things that I really do make a point of is I do something that is different from a lot of the other companies out there that are teaching you how to code. What I do is, let me go to a section that hasn't been done yet. So like, yeah, I haven't done 2022's category 3 codes yet. So if I was coming through here looking at this book like it was brand new and never been coded before, let's see. Anything that had a parentheses, I would highlight. This tells me that it doesn't matter if it's one lung or two lungs. This tells me it can be multiple, which is helpful. This word extended is also in a parentheses. That means it's an extended procedure, not up here. It could be marginal or something else. Anything that says EG means AKA terms, and it's also in a parentheses, I highlight. Some CPT codes don't have anything in a parentheses, which is just fine, and that means I don't need to highlight anything in it. But when I do see a parentheses, that line, and especially when I see EG, I'm going to highlight that, because more often than not, I see these words in the CPC exam question. I won't see anything up here, but what I will see is a mean peak or platitude airway pressure. I'll see one of those words in it, but I won't see organ perfusion system. I won't see it, but I'll see something that's in those parentheses. Other people will have you highlight what's after the semicolon, and they say that is a really good way of telling the differences between the codes. I don't do that, but there are other people that do whatever is after the semicolon, they highlight that. I found it not helpful for me, but that's another way of doing it. The other thing that I do highlight is anytime one of my words or one of my CPT codes says the word each, sometimes it does have that add-on code in the front. Sometimes it doesn't. But anytime I notice the word each in a CPT code descriptor, that lets me know that I can multiply this code, like times 2, times 3, times 4. Those kind of things are helpful. Some of them that are add-on codes don't have the word each, and that means I can't times them. So it's nice to know when you can. So I look for that word each, and then I mark them up to note that. None of these other ones have any parentheses. Nope. When it includes fluoroscope, that's something that I might highlight, especially because you never know if something's going to include radiology or not. And when it actually tells you it includes radiology, that's something to mark up and let yourself know, because that's important. And then other things I mark up are the do nots. Even though they're there, sometimes you forget that you're supposed to be marking those do nots or remembering to go down and look at them. If my answer happens to be a difference between this code, and this code, and that one, I have a couple of things that I need to check. If any of my answers include that code with any one of these numbers, and what I look for is the last 2 digits throughout the answers to see if it does include any one of those, then I know I can get rid of that answer right away, because I'm not supposed to use any of these codes with those codes, and that's super helpful, and that helps me eliminate some answers. Other things that I mark up, and I mark all the do nots in red, and anything that I'm supposed to code with another code. I've been using the color blue. I might for next year do the color green. That way red means stop, green means go. But right here, when it tells me in the parenthetical that I'm supposed to use this code with another code, then I mark that up, because when I find an answer that does include those two together, that's probably all they're wanting to know is, do I understand that modifier, that parenthetical right there. So that's helpful. I use the practice questions from AAPC to mark up my differences between my codes. If I have these sets of codes as possible answers, and I find out what my original answer is supposed to be, and it's this answer because of that, and I'm supposed to use this code with it, I'll take a few words that are in the question that are not listed in both of those two codes. There's usually one or two words. Could be just a diagnosis for CHF. This is a lung thing, so what if they have CHF? Well, I'll put that diagnosis word right down here, that this is a test for congestive heart failure or cystic fibrosis. That's what I meant to say. And that's way it helps me the next time I see that question. If it's written differently the next time when I see it on an exam, but the diagnosis is the same, then that's helpful. This one includes a bronchoscope. That's super helpful, and an x-ray. Make sure you mark those kinds of things up, because it's hard. This one is without a 24 Holter monitor. Well, why even have 24-hour attended monitoring even in the CPT code descriptor? It doesn't include it, so mark it out. Put one line through it so you can still read it, but it should not even be there because it's not included. You're going to be skimming so fast, you might not see the word and register it's without. You'll just see it's this with a 24-hour and pick that. Well, it technically doesn't include that. So I go through there and put one line through when it says something is without. If it says with and without, I'll leave it alone. But if it definitely says it does not have something in it, put a line through that, because I don't want that even registering that it includes that by mistake, by my eyes. So those are some things that I find that is super helpful when I'm doing my CPT notes. I base everything and every note that I make off of what we've heard, what was on the exam, what the differences are on the codes based off the Knowledge Center that is on AAPC's website, which is totally free. You don't even have to be a member to look at their Knowledge Center. If they have these codes listed with examples on their Knowledge Center as examples, like we have a 35-year-old patient who needed this and this, and we coded it this way and that way, and they give some explanations, then I'll put some of those explanations down here at the bottom where I've got room to write. Not every code is in their Knowledge Center. It's better than the, what's that? Codify? Don't get that. Don't worry about that. That's not as important as their Knowledge Center that is free. They'll do articles on certain things, and they're really full of information that I like. And plus, it's coming from the people that make the exam that you're trying to pass, so you know it's verifiable. So that's the kind of information that I write here or find that is more helpful. But anything that's in a parentheses, that sucker's going to get highlighted. And anything that says EG. And when it's even just a simple S, that's helpful, because they're always trying to trick you by adding that multiple modifier for the 50 or 51. But if it already includes 2 of something, then that's why that's important to highlight. And it takes you forever to go through every single code and highlight every little S, but it's worth it if you want to pass the exam, I think. How do I go about highlighting the book? Okay, I got that one. Emily said, I'm going to see if the pencil grippers on the skinny pens. Yeah, they're super skinny, aren't they? Thank you for the roses. Yeah, they're super small, and I've got big hands for a girl, so these things are tiny. Get you some muscle cramps. But yeah, grippers would be great. Don't forget, if you are taking your exam in person, to not take mechanical pencils to color in your bubbles. Those suckers are pretty big. You want to get the fattest, like kindergarten, biggest pencil lead thing that you can use so that you're not bubbling forever to get a bubble colored in. I've used architectures. My dad used to be an architect, so he had all these, they're rectangle tips to a pencil, and they're fat, and you can shave them down to whatever point you want, but get your fattest, pencil lead circle thing that you could find to help save some time when you're bubbling in for you people that are doing it in person. Everything you teach is worth more than you know. Aw, thanks, Emily. Hey, Go-Kart, it's good to see you. We didn't catch a darn fish. We didn't do nothing, but we had a really good time. We hung out together and climbed mountains and hunted for pine cones and cooked together, and that was fun. It was fun. They have a dry erase on the laptop. Or which ones do you recommend buying out of all? Which ones do you recommend buying? Oh gosh. Hello, I'm looking to buy your notes, but I'm on a budget. Do you ever have deals on them? I do, but I really prefer to teach you how to do it yourself. Y'all got enough to spend on. But like, if you go to my website, it shows you step by step how to do it for free. If you've got the time, if you're, the main thing is, if you've got those practice exam questions from AAPC, exams A, B, C, D, E, and F, and you've done those, and then you've consistently not passed your first attempt on your CPC exam, and then they give you that breakdown that says, okay, in 1000s, you scored 50%. In the 2000s, you scored 40%. Whichever one is your lowest, that's the only one that I would really consider buying. Even if you bought one, and this is going to be your first attempt that you take the CPC exam, buy one section. That way, you'll see what I did, and then you can recreate it. I'm not making anything. It's nothing fancy that you can't do yourself. You'll see what I did, and you'll see what colors I used and what notes I made. And you can recreate it through the other sections too. The only problem is if you're in a really hard press for time, then you need a bunch of notes really quickly. But hopefully you can you can go through my website and figure out how to make them on your own. Sorry, I'm losing my voice already. I got to get back in the habit of talking again. But yes, on Etsy, you can use this coupon code, and that will get you 30% off. If you are on my website, which has all the same stuff as Etsy, but without the Etsy fees on it. So it is a little cheaper on my website. And my website also has the ICD-10 and the HipHicks notes on it. That website's coupon code is I will be CPC, all caps. I don't know if it matters if it's caps or not, but that's the coupon code for that one on my website. But if you watch enough of my lives and all the repeat lives on YouTube's, my notes are basically shown off there. You can hit pause and save screenshots and do notes there. I know it's tedious and stuff too to do that, but hopefully it helps too. But, you know, the Knowledge Center on AAPC's website, knowing that you highlight what's in any parentheses is super helpful. Any CPT codes that start out with the same wording, I don't think any one of these do, but let's see if I can find anything that says the same darn thing here. Both of these right here are device evaluations. As you're going through here and you see two parent codes, these are two mama codes that start out with the same codes. Device evaluation, and, okay, this does interrogation. This one does not have an and in it. I don't know why. And then it's got and initial programming. This one has interocular array, electrode array. This one does too, but it has intraocular. This one has initial. So this difference right here is initial. That one word is different when this one does not have the word initial. So this one must be for reprogramming, including reprogramming. This is just initial setup, right? In person. And this one's going to be for reprogramming. It's going to be your differences. Going through and finding out what your differences are when they start out the same exact, that's going to be helpful too. But it's a lot of work. Let's see. Hopefully that helps. I test that day as well, and I have to drive 2 hours though. Oh goodness. I called AAPC to confirm no whiteboards and no markers allowed on your online exam. My goodness. Somebody had something written down and didn't like it. If I purchase exams A, B, and C, but my school gave it to me for free, will AAPC refund me? I believe so, Vanessa. Call them and let them know. They'll be able to see in your account what you already had and say you purchased the wrong ones. You actually needed C, D, E, and F. Please let you have D, E, F. Even if you didn't get a refund, that's going to give you 150 more new questions. Maybe they'll do that, exchange them. But yeah, many people that buy the course don't even know that they had those practice exam questions there already given to them for free. So not really free. Y'all are going to have to pay for those courses for the rest of eternity. But hopefully you can get that forgiven. Which notes would you recommend purchasing most on a budget? Whichever one you are lowest scoring on. Anesthesia only has 4 questions on the exam, so don't get that. Cardiology includes Appendix L, which could add another question to you, which could be up to 7 to 8 questions on the exam. So that's more beneficial than anything. Medicine, radiology, they all have 6 questions. The other section that's most beneficial, I guess, is E&M, because you could have 16 questions, 6 questions for E&M, and then 10 of your cases could all be E&M, or it could be a range of stuff. But E&M, I would go by the quantity of the questions that it affects you on the exam, if that helps. I hope that helps. Think of it that way. Thank you, Tricia. Thank you for contributing to the roses. That's awesome, guys. Appreciate it. I am missing pages G10 through G14 on CPT book prep. I don't know what G10 and G14 are. Are you talking about? Thank you for all 20 of the roses. Who is Susie? Susie, I am missing pages G10 through G14. If you purchased notes from me, all that's included guideline-wise. 2023 notes I'm not even finished with. I'm on page G15, but that's just me working. I've done some of them live on YouTube, but I did a few pages while I was on vacation, but they're not ready for publishing yet or haven't been posted up for sale. What year are we talking about? They are writing part of the type of the questions would they ask. I like bacon. Howdy, howdy, howdy. You test November 19th and have to drive 2 hours. Some of the Florida classes are $3,000. You testing on 10/22 this weekend. Hey, Sandy. The comments she's reading are different. Probably. Thank you for the roses. So what do you use to write during the exam if there's no whiteboard? On the online exam, let me show you. Get back through all these pictures. Pictures. Where am I going to go? Look at albums, screenshots. Where am I at? Oh, Lord, my child. Me and Travi, when he was a baby. Now, why that is there and mixed in with the AAPC questions. But let's see. Maybe I didn't take screenshots. Maybe I took real pictures because I was watching a webinar. There we go. Let's see. Where are we at? They're going to have this lovely little notepad that you can type on. You can't draw on, but you can type on. This is what the new exam looks like. Apparently, it's going to have sections like this section is cases. This section is 1,000s. This section is 2,000s. This section is 3,000s. And you can go into each section and code those test exam questions. If you need a notepad, they want you to type it right there, which is inefficient. I wish they'd give us a drawing tool and you could just draw out something, but that's what you're supposed to use online. If you want to remember what you were doing on your online exam, the only thing I can think of doing is folding up the bottoms of the pages of the codes. Like if you had 4 answers on this one page and you don't know which one was right and you want to look at them later or ask my advice, fold up the corner and then move on to the next question. Then we can come back to it later and say, I don't know what the question was. I don't remember, but I know I folded up this page. So there's 4 codes on this page or whatever, a couple of them. I think something on this page was part of the online exam, and we can work together to see what we can figure out. That's all I know to do. Will you have a CPT prep for 2023? Yep. I am struggling with casting and strapping and have cases, orthopedics, E&M casting. A lot of the casting and casting supplies are all included in the surgery that was already performed. If we did an opened reduction of a fracture and we need to cast it before they leave the OR, and then we recast them in 2 weeks and then recast them 2 weeks after that, usually that's all included in the surgery procedure CPT code. And there would be no extra coding for any casting supplies at any point. Now, if a person had surgery out of the country, they were, in Europe, fell, broke their arm, had surgery over there, came back to the United States, went to see their primary care physician who did a referral to an orthopedics surgeon, or somebody that says, okay, in 2 weeks, it's been 2 weeks since I had my surgery, I'm supposed to have this thing recasted and re-x-rayed to make sure the alignment is okay. That's the only time I could think of that you would use casting supplies and recast them, is if it was done somewhere else, way far away, not using their health insurance plan, and then going to somebody else to take over care. Other than that, it would be a hip PICS question where your differences are whether it's short arm, long arm, plaster cast, fiberglass cast, those kinds of things, which you can distinguish between pretty easily if you just watch and make sure I am actually short and I'm fiberglass, or I'm long and I'm plaster, those kind of things. But I'll look for some of those practice questions and see if I can't find some. Thank you, Jesse, for contributing to the live. Thank y'all for sharing. And the 7,000 likes already. Can you show us the ink you are using for this year? Yes. I'm using the Bic Intensity. Can you all see that? Yes. Bic Intensity Fine. And then Les Pens, whatever this is, Quick Drying. These I found at Walmart. And then these I found at Dollar General. And they seem to be working just fine so far on the ICD-10 for 2023. Thank you guys for helping answer all those questions. Thank you, Twinkle. Hey, Go-Kart. Where is the Knowledge Center? I will show you. Let me put up this book real quick. Let me put up my ICD-10 one. Let me get this lappy toppy down. Whew. Let me open up a website here. I just have a few windows open. My oldest gets so mad at me for that. But I'm like, I can't help it. Okay. So AAPC, KNOW, Knowledge Center. We just type it out in Google. And then let's not click on any of the ads, but we're going to click right here, down here. And that's what it's going to look like. And when you get there, it's going to look like this. And it has this little search center right here. This is where I go. So if I go sepsis, which is hard to code, you know, I go right here. Now, check and make sure the year isn't too dang old, but sometimes the codes haven't changed since, 2020, whatever. It's fine. But just verify that you are really using something that hasn't updated. But when I go here into the Knowledge Center, this is so handy dandy, y'all, because it's from AAPC, and they actually give you clinical examples of how to code things. 79-year-old patient brought into the ER with pneumonia, whatever it is, 6-day length discharge. How would we code it? They give you the answer right there. Well, I'll go to that diagnosis code, and I'll put that code with that code with that one, with that one, with that one, and put it all next to this code so that I know they've got pneumonia, but then they also have asthma is going to go next. Then they got acidosis, hypoxia, and bronchitis. Super handy. Now let's see what happens when the physician talks about a sepsis diagnosis and confirms the patient also had sepsis. How would you then code it? Here, there was no sepsis. Here, there is sepsis. So I go to that A41.9. I add in all those codes in that correct order because the order will change. Then I'll have the 45 first, then the E code, then the J15, which was first up here. So super handy dandy. I love using their documents. They even have coding tips here for guidelines. And then they'll do more examples. Here's another patient admitted for pneumonia with hypoxic respiratory failure. How would you code it? They forgot the word sepsis right here. That's the sepsis code, but it's third in line. First, it would be pneumonia. Hey, Magpie. Cat came to see. When they have bacteremia, coding tips for it. And then there's another example with how to code it in order. So, love it, love it. I use their information since they're the ones that are giving the attest. And I find it super helpful. They don't cover every subject, but when they do, they've got tons of examples of exact probable questions, and they tell you the answer right there. So that's super handy dandy. And this is what I did for all my sepsis notes last year. And it's not even signed in. I'm not even logged on. So this is free public information out there for everyone to see. It's not paid subscription information. So that's super handy dandy. Love it. Love their Knowledge Center. I hope that helps out, Miss Chan. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for the shares and the loves. So if you're going to go to school now, by the time you get done, you will need the 2023 books. Yes. Where can I find exam questions for chapter distribution? Also on the AAPC website. Let me switch to my log on for that. Let's see. Over here. Yes. I gotta go to my website. And I'm logged on. So if you're going to buy practice exam questions, you do have to have your membership paid up. And you do go to AAPC's website. You'll have to pay $190 to have access. But you go to CPC exam training. When the page refreshes to here, you're going to go down, hit start here. Then over to the side, you'll have practice exam questions right there. Click that. Right here in the middle, we'll have exams bundles. Just these last two bundles here is what you need. You can get A, B, C, D, E, F. They're $79 for members. I guess you could buy them without having your membership paid, but never thought about that. Just do not click this checkbox right there. Don't buy the course. Then just hit agree and add to your cart and purchase. This will get you 300 practice exam questions. Once you've purchased them, you'll go to My AAPC up here in this corner. You'll go to My Purchased Items. Many people don't even know they have them here. If they've purchased a previous course for previous years of any sort, sometimes they show up here for free. So you'll go to your receipts of your purchased items and your exam questions will be right here. So then you just click on them, you click on an agreement, and then you'll hit case 1, and this will give you 50 questions to practice. And then you can practice these as you go. And these you can even do them timed if you feel like it, or you can just stop the timer. It doesn't matter. No one's going to keep score. You can do them one question at a time and just have it graded. No one's going to keep score. You can't, don't save these and do all 50 at one time. Work on them every single day, even if you only have time to do one or the other. Pick an answer and just go on down and hit grade. See if you got one right. And it'll let you know right away if you got it right or wrong, and then you can hit the rationale and see if you did miss it or anything. So super handy dandy. Then I would go to that code and this code, see if there's anything in this question that isn't in the CPT code descriptors that would help me to make sure that I know that this is the right answer. I'd make sure that I know that layered closure is down for that, most definitely. That our excision is this size for that. And we got positive margins. That kind of thing. Just make sure that every little thing that could be helpful from this question is near those codes, just in case they use some different wording that's different than what's in there. But these exams questions will be most like what you see on the exam. They are different. Some of the exam questions on the exam will be easier. Some of the exam questions will be so much harder. You never know. The last 4 questions in each one of these exams of the 50 questions are cases. So starting with this 46, 47, 48, 49, and 50 are cases. And same way with the practice exam book. When you get the study guide, each one of the chapters has cases, except for probably the first one, the business of medicine. But the last 2 questions in each one of the study guide chapters is a case. And those are the ones that we'll have 10 of at the end of the exam that you need to pay attention to. They're just a little bit harder, a little bit more wordier most of the time. But mostly the answer is just right here in the preoperative and postoperative. This is usually all you need. Some of them won't have that, which is more difficult, but when they do have that, usually this is all you really need. And then only if you did a graft or if a guide wire was used would you need to look for anything in the middle of the case thing. Thank you for the roses. So you recommend adding this to our CPT notes for each codes. If there's anything that can help you from the exam question that is not in the CPT code, like a diagnosis or a different word for a particular instrument, like down here at these cases, if they called something an AccuTrack drill and the CPT code descriptor does say drill, but it doesn't say a proper name of a drill, I'll add the proper name of the drill to that CPT code just because they'll keep the wording the same. even if they rewrite this question for the exam, they're going to put that registered name down in their question. Look at their wires. They gave them that proper name of the Kirshner wires. I guarantee the CPT code for the correct answer does have wire in it, but it doesn't have the proper name to it. Anything that makes you feel more comfortable knowing that this does include that particular proper name, then great, that can help you during the exam. I find it does. Sometimes those proper names are what's in the parentheses that I already told you to highlight anyway. So that's super helpful. You can match up that. With the CPT code, that's down here, this fracture of a right scapuloid fracture could go underneath for the correct CPT code, because this won't have any diagnosis code information by it. But knowing that it does an open reduction and internal fixation of the scapuloid fracture, and you know what the right answer is, you can write that underneath the CPT code, which is super helpful during the exam. You absolutely can. And AHIMA has a great little book. Where is my Vita source? AHIMA, I think, has a great book that I'm just loving. Where is my bookshelf? I only have the answers to every odd answer, but got my books down here. I like their book. Where is it? The AHIMA Coding Workbook. Love this thing. You have to get the answers from, go back. No, I want to read the book. You have to launch the course. Is that what I was supposed to have done? Nope. Open book. How about that? So I like this book because it'll go through coding everything at a beginner level, like everything from simple diagnosis codes through every respiratory system, all the way through ortho system, all the way through whatever. They'll also do the CPT codes, beginning with Integmentuary, all the way through medicine, beginner exercises. Then they have intermediate exercises. They'll go through all those codes again and pick out tougher questions. And then they'll have advanced coding exercises throughout the whole thing again. Super cool. I've been enjoying this book. So I think it's worth the time. They only give you the odd answers throughout the book, and you have to have a code, and you got to download the answer separately, which is a pain. But they're good questions for you guys, I'm sure. And they're in depth, and they can start out super easy. Some of them are fill in the blanks, but I like the, of course, the ones that are like AAPCs with the A, B, C, and D, and they have plenty of those. And then they've got those PCS codes that y'all have to deal with, which are terrifying to me. I don't want to do any billing, but it's still neat that y'all have. This book seems to be really cool. And if I was going to be an AHIMA CCS, I would continue using this and learn more about that. PCS is the only subject I would need to learn probably to be able to pass it. But I think this book is worth your time if you're taking CCS. And I got the electronic version on Vita Source is what I did. But I think Amazon sells a printed copy of the book if you want it to. But I like this book. This is the cool book. There are a lot of books out there that I don't look. They have formatting issues. It's stolen material from other people that have stuff published, but this one is a cool book. I like it. And you can go into the beginning stuff and not have the PCS stuff there at the very, very beginning, but yeah. See, they'll have plenty of ABCD ones and true and false ones. Just tons and tons. And they go from the very beginning, and it's well organized, all the way through every subject for the beginning part. And then you can go on to the intermediate coding exercises and build your skills up instead of just one question might be easy, one question might be hard. You never know what you're getting with the next question. So I like this book. This is cool. But it wouldn't be hurtful for the CPC people to have either. But it's going to have some stuff that's way too advanced. But that's okay. I like that book. I like it. The intermediate and the beginning are good for CPC, for sure. But they're really good for AHIMA people. Yep. But yes, I would use the same hacks. I would go through every single question, and if I find out what the answer is, that's an odd, even one. Now, the odd ones you have the answers to. Any one of the odd ones had any kind of information in it that you could put near a code or put a definition in that could help you during your exam, then absolutely put it in your book. Your books are open book exam, and you're able to make coding notes in them all you want. So, yeah, absolutely. Use the same techniques for AHIMA. You're very welcome for the information. All right. Let's get started on some practice exam questions for tonight. Let me get out my stuff so I can hide the questions from you guys, but let y'all see the answers, because you know that's how I like to do these exams, and I think it's super helpful. I think more and more teachers are starting to share that information so that everybody can start taking the exams or even their practice questions and doing them this way. If you're going to read the entire question at home doing practice exam questions, then it's not going to help you for doing the real exam in person. It is a skill you do need to learn how to focus yourself, because you're going to start off your exam trying to read all the questions if you don't already have a really good pattern of training yourself not to look at the answers or the question first and going straight for the answers. Promise it will help you out, but you got to practice it at home. So when I think of the 99219s, I think going all the way to page 33 immediately and looking at this chart. If my E&M section has a chart for a set number of codes, remember, don't look at the CPT code descriptor. It can get you in trouble and you get the wrong answer. Always look at the chart. There's charts for like what is that? Extended visits for prolonged services. Yep, there's some for the prolonged services. That's on page 43. You want to be sure and look at those charts. Charts on page 44 and 45. You don't want to look at the CPT code descriptors. You want to look at those charts for sure. There's more throughout here. Just get familiar with those charts. Be sure and know that you really need to look at those charts and not code from the CPT descriptor, because it'll get you in trouble. But when I think of these 99219s, I think the only thing that I need from the question to be able to answer it is just a time, because this is critical care. All the answers start out with that same number. So I don't need to know who the patient is. I don't need to know what their diagnosis is. I don't need to know any of their symptoms. Nothing. All I'm going to look for is time out of the exam question. So that is all I am going to look for. So I'm going to skip everything else until I see numbers, or I'm looking for words that are numbers. And I wish y'all could have a drawing tool during the online exam. So we've got 62 minutes of critical care, and then we've got an additional 55 minutes of critical care, and then we've got a documentation of their time for 29 minutes. You need to know what qualifies for critical care time to be able to get this question right. What do you guys think the answer is? A, B, C, or D? We can use similarities to help us narrow down some stuff. We'll need to do a little math with this one. How many minutes do we have? Thank you, Vanessa. You did this one today. This one is on the free monthly magazines that we get from AAPC. I think this one is June or July's month. If we add, we get 7, 11. We can't add the 29 minutes here because the endocrine was just managing the patient's diabetes and skin ulcer. That's not critical care time, and that's all we're billing here, which is our very first code, right? So if we only add this one and this one, we get how many minutes, and then we just look at our chart and find out what our answer is. It was January of 2022. I thought it was June or July. Something with a J. I got something right. And see, with those 300 questions that you buy, you have a year's worth of 20 questions that are free on the magazines that you can look at on the AAPC website too. So that gives you a whole lot more practice questions to look at. Anybody want to take a guess at what the exam answer is? Are we going to be at ×2 or at ×3? That's first part of your question. Where does 117 minutes fall? 117 falls right around in here. So we got 117 is the 91 and the 92 times 2. I get rid of the times ones with some liquid paper because I don't like those, but they're confusing. But it's just the ×2. So that way we know we can get rid of B and C. Then we just need to know, are we going to bill a 32 or a 33? Yeah, save them for your free CEUs. Y'all are going to need them. Don't forget there's 4 videos there that have a code at the very end of the video. You can just fast forward to the very end and you type in that code and then add it in when you need a CEU. Those 4 videos will give you 4 CEUs. Are we in A or D? 992, 992. Are we a 3-2 or a 3-3? Those are subsequent hospital visits. And where would 29 minutes go? Where would 29 minutes go for that subsequent visit? Yep, we've got our 32. I don't know why I'm saying 23 all day long, but 32 was spent with the patient. So yes. Yep, 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 yep. Perfect. What about our 994 codes? Where are our 994s? 994? Front of the book, back of the book, where are we at? 99401. And 02 can be found on page 49. And then the 11 and 12 are on pages 50. If you're in the 2022 CPT book. So knowing the differences, one set is preventative, one set is for group counseling. So we just need to check, are we in a group of counseling or are we individual? I don't see anything about group or in with a bunch of people, so it's going to be a difference between those two. Then all we need to know is time, because that's the only difference in those CPT codes from the 01 and the 02. There you go. A again. That's all there is to it. Just take it calmly, one step at a time, and only look for what info you must know. That's it. Don't look at anything else. That'll help out. Ooh, those codes in the back. Let's go to medicine. 963. I would go to those first because they're mentioned at least twice. So 963. The dreaded infusions. Dreaded infusions. I see that these two are down twice. I would be hyperfixated on those two. So only thing I need, if it is these two, is to verify that we're doing infusion. And if I'm over 1 hour and 30 minutes, then my answer would be B. If I'm less than 1 hour and 30 minutes, my answer is going to be A, even though the CPT code descriptors say otherwise. But that's the truth about those codes. I have to be 1 hour and 31 minutes before I code B. This is anything from, I think it's 30 minutes, right? 31 minutes. Hydration infusion has to be at least 31 minutes through 1 hour and 30 minutes. Something like that. So I'm just looking for time again. So I'm looking at time right here. We have 1 hour and 15 minutes. Where does 1 hour and 15 minutes get you? Thank you, Twinkle. Is it A again? Thank you, Sandy. I got 4 TikTok subscribers, by the way. That is so neat. If y'all need any TikToks made for you guys on a particular subject, be sure and message me on TikTok now that I'm back, and I will make you your own TikTok on a particular subject you want. Just let me know what you want to know about. How do I code this? How do I code that? And I'll get those made. Here is the description. Says you cannot bill the additional 15 minutes. It's one thing to note, important. And you do not code intravenous infusion for hydration of 30 minutes or less. Those are important things to have written out next to these codes. And that where I wrote 31 minutes to 1 hour 30 minutes next to this code, that's super helpful to have during your exam. Thank you, Twisted, for the subscription. If you want a TikTok, same thing for you. Let me know what you want. Just message me there. All right, and then write down the 1 hour and 31 minutes plus next to your 31 code. That way you'll know for the exam anything over 1 hour and 31 minutes, as long as they're not less than 15 minutes, then you'll code B. The subscribers to the YouTube channel, the ones that pay for the subscription, I think I gave them access to all the old workshops too. So I don't know if I got them all posted on there before I went on vacation, but I got to double check with that and see. But that's a benefit of the paid prescription for the YouTube videos too, by the way. Integmentuary, I got a few of these for tonight. I thought these looked fun to do. So we have 2 that are in the 12s, and then we have 2 that are in the 13s. So that's my first dilemma, is to look up those headers and see what the differences are. The 12051 is under what header? Not CPT code descriptor, but what header? 51. I'm under intermediate repair, I believe. And then the 13s are under complex repair. So I need to know my guidelines for my differences between those. Complex repairs are multiple layers. Muscle and bone would be included. That kind of thing would be very apparent. It would be complicated. If they said anything about extensive undermining, anything about a defect or a flap was created for a particular wound repair, that would indicate a complex repair. Anything with any rims or borders or even retention sutures that are meant to hold things together until muscle rebuilds in that area and can hold itself together afterwards, those are all complex repairs that can all be layered repairs and appear to be like a intermediate repair. But good job, Chloe. So let's look at these. Are we complex or intermediate? What are we looking at? Do we see anything about retention sutures? Any flaps created? Anything deep? Muscle bone? I don't see anything like that. We're just subcutaneous fat layer. And we are closing in layered closures. So I think we can get rid of D and B. And we're also left with 2 with the same diagnosis codes. If you were looking for similarities in just the answers, even without looking to see if it's intermediate or complex, you can look over here and we see that 2 of them have the same diagnosis code and they're both the layered closures, which is neat too. I like looking for similarities. Since these 2 have the same diagnoses, that also makes me feel good that I've got the right answer. So my only differences in these 2 answers is whether I'm a 16 or a 14. So let's go see what our headers are for those 2. 11.6. 11.6 is under body parts. We're in the body parts. And then 114, we're under cancer ones versus benign lesions. And since we had margins that were not clear and we were talking malignancy, we know we're going to be which ones, right? Subcutaneous. Can we code malignancy before the pathology comes back though? A suspicious lesion, clinical diagnosis of the lesion is unknown. We think it's malignancy. So can we code the malignancy? Or do we code it as just a benign, we don't know what the heck it is? What is your guideline with this one? Yep, it's tricky. Reveals a nevus. Yep, pathology does say with clear margins. Where would a nevus be? That is benign. I have this running list. You know, our benign lesions guideline is over here on page 101, but I moved this list of the names of the different things that are included under benign. I moved that over here to where the codes start on page 102, and I keep a running list of everything that I find that is part of these benign neoplasms, and nevus is one that I've added here too. So masses and lipomas go into musculoskeletal. I have nevus and cystic lesions, congenital, inflammatory, all there. I did the same thing for the malignant lesions because their guidelines are on one page, but then the codes don't start till they're over here. And I have a running list of the types of stuff that we see that are going to be here in the 16s, so that's on the same page as the codes. Same thing with the benign ones. Hopefully that's helpful. But yes, very tricky indeed. Just take it one step at a time. Sorry, Bixby might come on. No, good, yay. Okay. But yes, C is our answer. There is your rationale. Unless it's an AHIMA, you cannot bill. Most of them will be carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, melanoma, any of those things you're going to want to bill in the 16s. If it doesn't say that, doesn't say AHIMA, then more than likely it's always going to be your 14s. Okay? We got a bunch of 16s for this one. We got 3 16s and then 1 14. So I'd probably disregard that one. And then I've got 2 that are the same answer. One just includes an extra code or not. And that's probably all they're wondering about. So what is our 11643? 11643 is our excision of something on the face, ears, eyes, nose, and lips. And it's a bigger one of a 2 to a 3. Would we need to add anything to this one? Probably not. More than likely, the answer will most generally usually end up always being the code by itself. They're going to put propaganda in here and make you think you got to code that 1200. I mean, even if you go look up the 1200, you're going to find that, yeah, I probably did that, but that is a simple repair. But if you're cutting out something, you're already going to repair it. You don't need to add another code with it to say you're going to repair what you just cut out. You just got paid to cut it out. You can't just cut it out and not fix the hole. 116. So and right here in your guidelines is what they're wanting to know. If you know, it should be reported separately by itself. You don't need to add a bunch of stuff to it. You know, so that's super, super handy dandy. Simple repair is always included in an excision. One of those lovely little guidelines to write down. Keep it near the codes. And they just did a single layer closure, and you don't need to bill for any of that. So I would pick B and feel very confident. Yep. Simple one layer closure is not reported separately. And writing that near these codes at 116 could be helpful just to let yourself know that simple repairs don't need to be coded separately here. Did you get you some treats, Chloe? All right. 15 more minutes. Let's see what I got in here. I've got modifiers, it looks like. So the only differences are the modifiers, really. So let's go see what there are. 58 is, and I like to look at the very front cover of the CPT book. It has that little cheat sheet of modifiers. Stage or related procedure. 76 is repeat, and 78 is unplanned return. So what happened? Well, our margins were not clear, so we had to go back in and redo the procedure, or at least just clear the margins. When we were cutting something out, you're supposed to leave and actually cut out more than what you're cutting out that you think is suspicious. You're supposed to leave this and cut out a layer of healthy tissue that has no cancerous or suspicious cells. If you don't, and your cancer or suspicious stuff runs all the way up to everything that you cut off, then you've got something here that has positive margins. And you need to go back in and redo that little area to make sure your margins are clear. So that's what's going on. Which modifier goes along with that one? I got a lot of C's. Hey, Sunshine. How are you doing? You and Crystal got it right. 58 is your answer. It is a related procedure. 78, let me see, 76, repeat procedure. Stage, related procedure. We're not going in and doing and going to bill our procedure didn't fail and we have to repeat it. Trying to think of an example of what this would be, but let's say a kid comes in with a displaced shoulder and they need to manipulate it back into place. Doctor performs the procedure, goes on about their day. They do a repeat x-ray next day before they discharge the patient and find that the shoulder's not in place properly. And the doc has to go back in and repeat the procedure. We are repeating the whole thing all over again and manipulating that shoulder back up into there. This one, we're just going back in and just redoing one side of this procedure to get that one margin clear. We won't go in and do a whole nother excision all the way around. If other margins are clear, more than likely they're just going to go in and get that last part and make it a little bigger up there. So it's more like a staged and a related procedure. And unplanned would be they developed an infection and we had to go back in there the next day because it's seeping or something happening that's complicated the procedure. But that's why it is 58. Hopefully that makes more sense. But here is the rationale if you like wordy stuff with proper terminology that I'm not good at. B is your answer. Ooh, trash cans need to go out. I gotta do the trash cans. These are just ranges. So would we be in the 14s for benign, right? Malignancy, musculoskeletal section, or none of these sections if we had this thing going on? What do you think? Where would we be if we were doing a cyst? Anybody want to take a guess? ER, unplanned? I'm not sure. I don't think so. I can't think of a reason. Why you would use 78 in the ER. It's more of a you're admitted to the hospital and we're doing a major surgery, like a cabbage or something, and you have complications or a bleed develops or something we got to go back in and redo and it's unplanned. I doubt you use that in ER. I'm not the best at billing, but I wouldn't think so. Anything, let me show you on my surgery thing. Okay. So in Integmentuary, I've got this on our page 91 drawn in, and things that you would code in the 1000 Integmentuary section would be in fatty tissue, dermis, that kind of thing, excisions and shaves. Anything in the fossa, lower than subfascia layers and stuff like that down here is going to be in the areas where you code the 2000s and stuff. So having something like this to go by, to divide this up into, okay, this from here down is going to be, because you're going to have nerves and tendons and muscles. You see that nerve fiber in there? If you're down here in the subfascia layer, you're in the musculoskeletal area. Anything above, you're going to be in the integumentary area. You're just dealing with blood vessels and stuff. So maybe that'll help giving you a visual that's maybe if it wasn't blurry. But that's how I think about it. So knowing that now that you've got that, it's coming on. There we go. And you see the word deep subfascia. Now do you know what the answer is? Where would we be? JJ? Jetta? Sunshine? What do you think? Yeah. There you go. Anything that says the word deep or sub, those are key words for musculoskeletal. Yep. Hopefully that's helpful. Good job. All right, another one. 2000s musculoskeletal. We've got benign and we've got malignancy. Okay. Thinking about those differences, what would we use for this one? We've got cutaneous lesion, benign. The pathology was excised as a malignant lesion by the surgeon, but it doesn't say that it was malignant from the pathologist. But the pathologist found it to be benign, right? So if the pathologist says it was benign, now what can we bill? Even though the surgeon excised it as if it was a malignant lesion, surgeon really has no control over what we really bill in the CPT code world. We have to wait for the pathology report to come back. Then we can bill it based off what the pathologist says. Pathologist rules here. Xbox friends are on, apparently for my kids. Pathologist rules. Yep. We're going to do C for this one. Yep. Even though the doctor excised it and the surgeon, you think he's top dog, he's not top dog. He doesn't get to bill for malignant lesion only if the pathology comes back as malignancy. He doesn't get to bill for malignancy. Yep. Tricky one that they get you on those exam questions. This one's a real difficult one. Oof. But I think we can do it before we finish up for today, but it'll be fun. So let's go to our 97153 code, because it's down 3 times as the first answer. So 97153. And don't forget, some of these are out of sequence. So if you have not fixed your out of sequence codes on page 835, it's going to make it more difficult to find these codes, which are on page, I'm not going to tell you. Make you suffer. There we go. Can anybody find the codes? Can y'all find 97153? Because they are out of sequence. Since we have 3 with the same answer, I'm going to assume it's that answer and get rid of D. We just need to know if we're going to multiply it times 8 or times 4. Sandy gave y'all a lifeline. Good job. Page 815, even though the codes themselves should be on page, what? Where should they be? Quite a few away. They should be on page 835, but they're not. They're 20 pages away on 815. So that's why fixing these out of code sequences, anytime you see a red code, go write the page number down. That will save your soul during the exam. I put the column number, column 1 or column 2 down. You don't have to do that. I just overdo, but at least having the page number, that will save you. Then you can run to that page where those codes are actually hidden on. Yep. So we're dealing with adaptive behaviors and family adaptive behaviors. So our differences are going to be whether it's individual, group, or family, or multiple group family homes. And they're billed by eaches. So that means these codes don't have a plus symbol in front of them, but we can multiply them. And we need to have better notes than I had. Oh, if I could get it to focus. There we go. I did circle the word each, but then I forgot to go on and put, oh, that one's not going to write. I wore that one out. We can write times is by all of these because they all have the word each in them. And that will help you to know that you can multiply these, even though they're not add-on codes. They all need to have that times beside them. That will help you out during the exam. And they're timed by 15 minutes. So if you had an hour, how many 15 minutes are in an hour? 4. If you had 2 hours, you would have 8. And our answers are either 4 or 8. So I only need the time out of the question. I don't need to know who they are, what diagnosis they had. The only thing I'm going to be billing is time. So let's see if we're 2 hours or 1 hour or 2 hours on one thing and 1 hour on another. That's all I need to know, and I'll have the answer. So what do you think? What does the time in the question tell you that the answer is going to be? A couple of B's, a couple of A's, totally divided. That's awesome. So one part of the question says we have 2 hours here. Another part says 1 hour. Anybody know what all these abbreviations stand for? RBT and BCBA. We have board certified assistant behavioral analysis and a registered behavioral tech. We are on page 815, and our answer is A, actually, based off 15 minutes. Based off just that 1 hour. Most payers don't allow you to bill. So we had a patient being seen from 1 to 3 p.m. You can't bill for one physician or tech to do something for a patient from 1 to 3 and bill the 2 hours for that, right? At the same time, in between that time, we had a tech doing something else. And then we bill on top of that same time their time. We would have to take out this time from that time, bill it separately for that tech, and then what was left over, the 1 to 1:30 and the 2:30 to 3, would be left over to bill for that tech or MD. So concurrent billing the same stuff on two different things, whatever, at the same time isn't allowed. They each got 1 hour of individual billing time. That's why the answer is A. But at first glance, if you didn't notice and you just saw 2 hours and the 1 hour, that's why you would think B. But if you know that they're not going to allow you to bill the same identical time slots for two different things, then you know to get rid of that and make it just 1 hour per person. Good night, Susie. I hope that was helpful. Yep. And there's your abbreviations. I'll be back on Wednesday night for sure. I'm going to be working on some TikToks and some YouTubes between now and then, and more of this ICD-10 guidelines, finishing up the 36 pages of the 2023 stuff, but I know that's nothing y'all are needing to worry about yet. A lot of you guys are fixing to take your exam in November and in December, and we've got to finish prepping y'all for those. What do y'all want to do on Wednesday? Wednesdays live. Do we want E&M? Do we want cases? Do we want cardiology? Do you want lab path? What's your lowest? Lab and path's been coming back really great scores lately, but I don't know how y'all are feeling. Ooh, I'm about to lose this extension cord. Yes, this is the rationale right here for it. Hopefully y'all can see it. You're very welcome. Good night. Medicine. Y'all want medicine? Medicine. Cardiology. Rad. Thank you, Sandy. Lab and path. Lab and path. Okay. Medicine, lab and path, medicine, lab and path. And more vaccines. I saw some vaccines today. I didn't grab them. Cases, E&M. Okay. All right. I got a note written on this live so that I will get these done for Wednesday and for Friday's lives for you guys. I'll work on those for Wednesday and Friday's lives. Yes, vaccines. All right, you got it. So good to see y'all back. And please let me know also if, where am I at? Where's my Wix? I'm working on this document where I'm going to post some other educators that are good and helpful for you guys. If y'all got any suggestions, I'm adding this to my website, Medical Coding by Jen. Clickable links for you guys so you can go to those people and, newbies that are coming around and want more information, might not vibe well with me and want to look at other people's material too, that have stuff out on the, do y'all find the CHUM system still worthy? I remember looking at that like in 2018, and it was mostly for ICD-10, but I thought the AAPC stuff their book was good because it had everything that was different was green. So I didn't use the CHUM method, but I don't know. Whatever y'all have found or used that y'all thought was helpful that other educators have out there, I just want to direct them to their links so that they could find their info too. So if y'all got any ideas of who to add to this page, I'll be adding y'all's ideas here. I know y'all love this person. Never watched any of the videos, but I should. And then there's another TikToker out there, Randy. He's funny. I like looking at his TikToks. And then I'll add him and the CCO people and the Coders Guild. I like her. She's more advanced though, so she's beyond CPC. She doesn't do the basics, but she does that higher up stuff, guys. So I'm sure y'all got some AHIMA people out there we can add too. So yeah, y'all let me know whoever y'all would like me to add for a list of people that others can search and find good ideas from too. Let me know. Anyways, it's so good to be back. I will see y'all again on Wednesday night, and I'll have some new TikToks coming and some new YouTube videos too. All right, guys. Great. I'll see y'all later. Thank you guys for all the shares and the 7,000 likes. Y'all are wonderful. I missed y'all so much. Is it 9:30 in Florida? Did y'all fall back yet already? It's 8:41 here. I don't know if y'all's time had changed, but that would be awesome if y'all's time changed already. Good night, guys. See y'all later. Oh, it's still 11:41. Okay. Time will change pretty soon, and we'll be closer. We'll be like 10:30 when I end. I can't wait till the time changes for you guys. All right. Good night, guys. See y'all later. Thank you, Koala. Great.